1987, Neo Tokyo. 3 distinct segments directed by Rintaro, Yoshiaki Kawajiri, and Katsuhiro Otomo. All legendary animators in their own right, all working under Madhouse at the time, with Otomo hot on the heels of releasing Akira as a manga and Kawajiri just getting started on what would become Wicked City. Rintaro, of course, the co-founder of Madhouse, was already well established. Neo Tokyo, or Labyrinth Tales as it was originally titled before being bought and relabeled in the early 1990s by Streamline Pictures.
State-of-the-art Japanese animation.
Would lay the stylistic groundwork for both Otomo and Kawajiri's careers going forward, and interestingly enough for Otomo, would also mark the start of his involvement with several other anthologies throughout the 90s, including Robot Carnival, Memories, and another much later in 2013 with Short Piece. Thank you, Otomo. Very cool. Neo Tokyo is my personal favorite of these anthological collections for the simple reason of it being the most visually idiosyncratic. Every segment feels so incredibly integral to the identity of each filmmaker, beyond what can even be seen in Memories or Robot Carnival. The life they bring to them and the compositions, the details, the colors are all so wildly different, but meld together beautifully because of how unlike anything else they are. I see it as a sort of monument to a golden era of animation, one that at this point almost feels like a half-forgotten memory. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate time capsules of style like this. Labyrinth, which starts and bookends the anthology, that's Rintaro's work. The characters have a wonderful solidness to them in the design, in the lines, but they're also rounded, the texture is warm and soft of them, and the whole picture, despite it largely taking place inside of a kind of nightmare. Every frame is perfectly composed, but also chaotically filled with detail, painterly, with some direct visual similarities to Salvador Dali. The entire short has such a dreamy flow to it. It's very much as if we're stepping back into the mind of a child, back to a time where our imagination's congruity with reality would fluctuate back and forth constantly. I've seen this short many times now, and I get so entranced by the visuals that I never really considered what the story was about, and to be honest, I almost don't want to read into it very much because I want to preserve the purity of the experience for myself. Running Man. I feel this short in my bones and the connective tissues of my ligaments, the vibrations at the end of my fingertips. It's a hard, sci-fi, dirty, bloodshot-eyed kind of short, and as someone who's a massive fan of films by people like Tsukamoto, it's honestly no wonder that this is my favorite short of all time. Yoshiaki is on full blast here, a man at the start of his career but already at the summit of his creative power, and there's rarely been moments captured on film before as visceral in nature as they are here. The freakish intensity in the details and the uncanny, elongated proportions of the racers is near otherworldly. Its singular focus on speed pushes him past human limits, past humanity into a fireball of madness. I mean, it's jaw-dropping. Otomo's is last, Construction Cancellation Order, and it's the weakest of the 3 shorts, but that doesn't stop it from being a fascinating entry point into Otomo's career. Everything that is Akira finds its animated DNA here, but as a short in itself, it's also a sort of wonderful little cyberpunk Twilight Zone episode, a quirky, eerily disquieting examination of man's dependence on machinery, a rather predominant hallmark of Otomo's.
Neo Tokyo.
The way I'd thought of imagery previous to Neo Tokyo, both in and outside of animation, was based entirely upon an idea of rigorously strict, logical dictation. If there was a red light, I needed to know what made that light and what function the device making that light served in the story, which was a horribly pedantic way of watching movies. In no short thanks, I imagine, to the amount and type of film criticism I'd consumed at the time. Neo Tokyo changed my perspective on cinematic logic so much because of how powerful the imagery was. It was my first exposure to anything even remotely that wild. My epiphany was that it didn't matter if it made any sense or if it was right. It mattered if it was effective. The image mattered. That was paramount. I wanted more of this. I wanted to get drunk on Neo Tokyo and others like it, because to me, this was what the movies were really about. The rawness of unbridled images and the specificity of a creator's vision fully realized. And so I did, and maybe you will too. Okay, there's gotta be some gold in there. I'm begging you.